Okay, let's set the scene. Imagine walking into this pristine, ultra-modern building. It's tucked away deep underground, lined with these beautiful, flawless alloy walls. Now, you've just survived literal nightmares, horrific monsters, and absolute gods. But today you are facing something far, far more terrifying. This is the 20th episode, Outcast once again, of the story Shadow Slave, and we are about to break down an absolute masterclass in deception.
Hello, welcome back to our channel. Today's explainer takes us straight into the incredibly tense Sleeper Academy induction ceremony. Our protagonist, Sunny, is about to learn a very harsh lesson. Surviving a deadly, blood-soaked trial, that's one thing. But surviving high school social dynamics when you have a literal magical handicap? Oh, that is something else entirely. We're going to see exactly how Sunny takes a completely devastating weakness and turns it into his ultimate weapon.
So, here's the million-dollar question. How do you survive a deadly academy when your greatest curse is that you can never, ever tell a lie? You see, Sunny has a flaw. It's a magical mandate that forces him to speak the absolute truth whenever someone asks him a question. He literally can't just stay quiet without enduring this agonizing, piercing pain in his head. And now, he is trapped in this giant, brightly lit hall for an induction ceremony, totally surrounded by people who are going to be asking a whole lot of questions.
And to make matters worse, let's look at the social dynamics at play here, because it is brutal. Sunny realizes instantly that he sticks out like a sore thumb. He and that terrifying silver-haired girl are just standing there, completely empty-handed, wearing these basic, simple police-issued clothes because they were brought in just hours before the event. Meanwhile, the 100 or so other sleepers in the room, they are dazzling. They're handsome, radiant, confident, and lugging around designer suitcases packed by their wealthy families. Sunny is the ultimate underdog here, a massive, eye-catching anomaly in a room completely packed with confident elites.
This environment right here is where the true horror really kicks in for Sunny. You have a room filled with over 100 excited, nervous, and incredibly tense teenagers. And what do teenagers in this exact situation want to do? They want to talk. They want to discuss their nightmares, swap survival stories, and just pepper each other with questions. For you and me, this is just awkward small talk. But for a guy who literally cannot lie, it is a total social minefield. Sunny knows right then and there he is completely screwed.
And well, he was absolutely right to be terrified. Let's recount how hilariously wrong this goes for him right out of the gate. People naturally come up to chat, and his flaw just immediately takes over, completely bypassing his filter and forcing out his darkest thoughts. When a fellow sleeper brags about getting this cool enchanted armor robe in their nightmare and asks if Sunny would like to see it, Sunny opens his mouth and out comes, "Actually, I would prefer to see you without a robe." Boom. Instantly he gets branded as this obnoxious, foul-mouthed pervert. And the worst part, he realizes, much to his own horror, that deep down he actually is kind of rude, arrogant, and more than a little bit lustful. The social tension just keeps building. Another conversation starts up nearby, this time getting into the grim realities of their trials. One of the sleepers expresses absolute disgust over the idea of looting bodies, looking at the group and asking, "What kind of degenerate would take a dead man's shoes?"
Now that is a direct question, and Sunny's flaw violently forces his hand. He replies with this deadpan, brutal honesty, "I once killed a man and took his boots. They were nice boots." You can imagine the reaction. The other sleeper is completely horrified, gasping, "What? You killed someone just for a pair of boots?"
Sunny desperately tries to fix it, but the flaw just twists the knife deeper. He responds, "Of course not. There were other reasons I also took his cloak." So within 30 minutes of arriving, he literally sounds like a complete, remorseless psychopath. His completely unvarnished honesty earns him actual slaps across the face, physical punches, and total social isolation.
But here is where we hit a massive pivot in the story. Sunny is an outcast once again. He retreats to a quiet corner. His face hurts, blood is literally dripping from his nose, and the entire batch of sleepers actively despises him. Yet, standing there amidst the slaps and absolute social ruin, Sunny is smiling. Why? Because he has just had a brilliant, game-changing epiphany. He just discovered a loophole in his own curse.
He quickly maps out the exact mechanics of his flaw. It works like a machine. Step 1, his mind automatically produces a truthful answer. Step 2, the flaw demands he say it out loud. Step 3, if he resists, this immense pressure and piercing pain builds up in his skull. But here is the absolute genius part, Step 4. In that brief, agonizing window of pain before he finally surrenders, he can actually alter the wording of the answer. As long as the statement remains factually true, the flaw accepts it.
so he can endure physical pain to filter and strategically shape the words right before they leave his mouth.
Through this pain, Sonny invents a terrifying new concept: manipulative truth. He realizes he doesn't actually need to lie to deceive people. Truth, when you strip it of its proper context and wield it with devious intelligence, is basically the absolute best material for deceit. If he carefully cherry-picks and combines isolated facts, he can paint a picture that is entirely false while still technically telling the truth.
Let's look back at that disastrous boot story to see this in action. What was the actual context there? The man Sonny killed was a vicious veteran slaver who had brutally whipped him just hours prior. On top of that, the slaver was already dying anyway, and taking the man's cloak had absolutely nothing to do with the reason he killed him. But by stringing together the true statements, "I killed a man, I took his boots, and I also took his cloak," Sonny intentionally created the terrifying impression that he casually murders people for their wardrobe. Two perfectly truthful statements, smashed together, created a total, absolute lie.
And Sonny instantly realizes exactly how to weaponize this. You see, he's hiding a massive secret. He has a divine aspect and a true name. This makes him incredibly powerful, but also incredibly vulnerable if the wrong people find out. To survive this academy, his ultimate goal is to hide that true name by convincing every single person in the building that he is completely weak, pathetic, and totally unimpressive. But because of his flaw, he can't just come out and say, "Hey, I am weak." He has to manipulate the truth to make them believe it on their own.
So, it's time to put this theory to the test. Sonny spots a group of sleepers gathered around this tall, handsome, incredibly confident young noble. This guy just oozes wealth and extensive training. As Sonny wanders over, one of the noble's companions is loudly marveling at his achievements, asking about his appraisal. The noble, trying to sound humble but clearly proud, replies, "Oh, it was excellent," because he received an ascended aspect. And in their world, an ascended aspect is incredibly rare and very, very powerful.
Sonny sees his opening. He steps right in front of the group, pretending it's an accidental encounter. He frowns, looks up at this elite noble with pure, unadulterated disdain, and using his new mastery over his flaw, he drops a statement that is entirely true from his own perspective, but completely misleading to theirs. He says, "Ascended? Excellent? That's it? What's the big deal?" Think about it, because Sonny actually possesses a divine aspect, and ascended one literally isn't a big deal to him. It's technically true. But to the elites, it leaves them completely gaping in stunned silence. By acting utterly bewildered and unimpressed, he perfectly masks his true, God-tier power behind a veil of perceived arrogance and sheer ignorance, fully cementing his disguise.
It is an absolutely brilliant tactical move. He took an uncontrollable, life-ruining curse and turned it into a masterclass in psychological manipulation. He proved that sometimes the absolute truth is actually the greatest lie of all. And honestly, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often are we manipulated in the real world by people who are telling us nothing but the absolute truth? If you like the story, please like and share it and subscribe to the channel to watch future episodes. Thanks for watching.